All right, guys. Hi, my name is Michael Thies. I'm from Chicago. The topic of my presentation today is going with the flow and not overthinking. And in true topic manner, I'm not prepared at all, and I'm going with the flow and not overthinking. So, as much as this is your first time hearing the speech, this is also my first time hearing the speech too. And I first want to mention that it's very interesting that Simon opened up with a talk about, how he wanted to create this event, right? He's like, oh, I had this idea, I wanted to do this event, and then he just made the decision. And then he went with the flow and he created the event. But he could have also just overthought, be like, oh, I have to do this, I have to get all the chairs, the venues, and all this other stuff. And then we wouldn't be here right now and we wouldn't have an actual event. So that decision that Simon was mentioning earlier, it's the hardest thing to overcome. And one of the things that is overthinking, right? That overthinking is just, getting over that hurdle, getting over that decision. And also it's putting you at a reactive state versus a proactive state. And that's what I'll be juxtaposing. Going with the flow, which is being a proactive person, and overthinking, which is being a reactive person. And I'm going to use two specific examples in my life to talk about this. But first, let's get into what going with the flow is and what being overthinker is, right? So overthinking is, maybe I see this a lot of times in relationships. It mostly happens in relationships. You have a girlfriend, boyfriend, you get a text message, oh, hey honey, how are you? Oh, I'm good. And then, how are you? They don't message for like 3 hours. I know you're there. You just sent me a message. Why aren't you responding to me, right? This is one of those instances of overthinking. Now, this is a reactive quality because we are focusing on stuff that we cannot control. I can control myself and my human emotions, but I cannot control the human emotions of another person, right? That's out of my circle of influence. So that's something that we have to understand. Second thing is that, like Simon made this decision, overthinking creates stress on us. It creates just unnecessary stress, unnecessary fatigue in our life, and it's just not a positive thing. It's very, I think, pessimistic. You're looking at the glass half empty instead of half full. Now, going with the flow, in true Timon and Pumbaa saying is Hakuna Matata, right? Live life, no worries for the rest of our days. Okay? So, going with the flow increases our ability to really find out who we are. It increases our adaptability. As many, I don't know the profession of all of you out here, but I'm a teacher, and I know that one of the biggest things that we have to have as a teacher is being adaptable. Sometimes the internet doesn't work in China. What do? My whole lesson plan is based off the internet, right? Or what if the PowerPoint doesn't work? What if your kids don't do their homework and they're supposed to do your homework? So going with the flow is something that we always are practicing as being a teacher. And something that I think just makes us more versatile in general as human beings. So I had the first case study now comes into play. My first example of this was the thing that has changed my life dramatically in so many ways. Before I started teaching English, before I started teaching abroad, I was in the United States. I had a girlfriend. And we were together for maybe 6-7 months or so, and she broke up with me right before Valentine's Day. Very, very cruel. We had been saving up money every month to go to Yellowstone National Park in the summer. But she broke up with me Valentine's Day, and now I just had this habit of saving money, so I continued to save money, and I had some money in the bank. And I figured to myself, well, this is at the same time I'm working as becoming a teacher. I'm getting qualified and certified to become a professional teacher. So I figure, I'm single, I'm 25, I'm not tied down to any school district yet. I don't have an actual job, I'm just doing my internship right now, technically. And hiring a teacher is a multi-million-dollar process. Also, Although it's easy to get a job in the United States as a teacher, it's hard to find a good job in the United States as a teacher. Okay, so I figure if I went abroad, maybe it could expand my opportunities to get a job back in the States. So after doing some research, I decided to go to South America. And I went to Santiago, Chile. One reason for doing that is because in Santiago, I could teach adults versus teaching children in Asia. And adults are closer to high school students than children would be. Second, I had studied a little bit of Spanish in high school. Okay, like 4 years. My mom was a Spanish teacher, but she did not speak Spanish to me when I was a baby, so I cannot speak Spanish fluently. But I'm practicing now. But anyway, so I decided to go to Chile because of Spanish and because I could teach adults. Now, my parents did not like this idea. South America is portrayed very badly in the United States through the media. It's a very dangerous continent, right? And so I remember, actually, this is really sad, but my dad, the last words he said to me before going to South America was, "Don't come back." And that's a little rough. That's a little rough. But in South America, they have a weird hiring process. They don't hire you until you're there. They're not going to hire you beforehand. Whereas in Asia, I had a job lined up beforehand already, so I knew what I was coming into. But in South America, let me tell you what I had. I had 4 nights in a hostel. I had $2,000 in my bank account. And I had a one-way plane ticket. Now, what I didn't have in South America was friends. I didn't really know the language. By the time I went to South America, it had been 6 years since I had spoken Spanish. Okay, I knew hola and como estás when I went down there. And I could smile, so that made me friends. So no job, and really just like, if that's not going with the flow, I don't know what is. And so I was very nervous about this. And the person who's helping me through this process, through this TEFL process, he's like, "Listen, Mike, stop overthinking, right? From what you're telling me, you are an English teacher certified, you are a native English speaker, right? You're American, and you're an author. If you can't get a job down in South America, either you're not telling me something or you got a big tattoo on your face. Do you have a big tattoo on your face?" "No, I don't," I said. So I went down, and sure enough, like weeks later, I actually managed to get a job. And actually, the South America experience was the best year of my life. I not only survived, but I thrived. And I made the best friends that I've ever made in South America. Actually, 2 of them have followed me here to Shanghai. I'm going to see them later tonight. And I just got another one of them a job back in my old city in China. So they're all following me now. But with the overthinking, what came into play, and why I think typically overthinking comes from a miscommunication, is because about maybe a week and a half into my time in Santiago, I met this woman. And she was very good to me. We quickly became intimate. And I had the life of a king. I stayed at her place rent-free, which is great. She cooked for me all the time, which was fantastic. And, well, we had good sex. So, I mean, I was living like a king. But one night she says to me, "Mi amor." And I'm like, oh. Now, I know my little bit of Spanish tells me this means my love. And I'm like, whoa, 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 whoa. This woman is falling in love with me in 2 weeks? Nah. I'm only 2 weeks into Chile. I'm only 25 years old. I can't have this. So I'm contemplating how to tell her that we need to like slow things down and just take a break all the time. And she messages me one day. She's like, "Hey, when are you going to be home?" I'm like, I tell her a time, maybe 7, 8 p.m. She's like, "Okay, well, I have a surprise for you tonight." I'm like, "Okay." And I come home, and while she's there, waiting for me to unwrap her in her lingerie. And so we Now I'm really feeling guilty because I'm just like, well, this has to end. She's obviously progressing with her feelings too quickly. Although I did not know at this time that mi amor is not actually like, oh, I really, really love you. It's just a term of endearment. But I did not know this at the time because I was overthinking and I didn't know the language. So we finish, and then I tell her, listen, I think it's time for us to go our separate ways. And that was probably the worst night of my life because she didn't kick me out of the house. She didn't kick me out. Instead, she just kicked me to the couch so I could hear her cry the whole night and rip up papers and just awful. Awful, awful, awful. And this, again, is because I overthought. That night I just remember vividly in my head. And that's because I overthought, and I thought that, this woman was trying to fall in love with me within 2 weeks. Because I heard the word amor, and I didn't understand. The language is part of it, miscommunication. I think a lot of overthinking comes with miscommunication, especially in relationships. But a lot of it just comes from our inability to understand that other individual. Now, the second case study that I have with overthinking, again, happened in a relationship. But before that, going with the flow is actually what brought me to China, too. I could have had a job in my hometown, in Slinger, Wisconsin. Back when I was in Chile, there was a job opportunity for me back in my home, where my mom had taught for 38 years as a teacher. My dad had contributed large amounts of money and to the school system. And me and my sister both had graduated from there. So there's no possible way that I would not have gotten the job due to that guanxi, as we call it here in China. And so that I didn't actually end up going to the Skype interview. At the same time, I was talking to someone from China saying, like, all these other things about what I could be offered in China as a teacher. And so I compared the two side by side, exactly similar. But I decided to, well, you know what? It's Slinger, Wisconsin, of 5,000 people versus China, which is the unknown. Boom, I went to China. I'm like, I can do anything for a year. And that's something that we have to understand, is that everything that we do is just short term. We all have the perseverance and the endurance in us to do something for a short amount of time, like a year. It's only a year, right? So we shouldn't overthink things. And I didn't overthink things, and I went to China. Now I'm still here, obviously. I must like it somewhat. 4 years later, I'm still here. I have an awesome colleague, Sebastian Mata, who's going to be speaking later tonight. And we work probably in one of the best schools I've ever been privileged to work in. My students are great. I really like them. And my workload isn't as stressful as it would be in the United States. So my life has just increased so much more dramatically because I've just learned to go with the flow and just not overthink things and just, just do it, as Nike says. Because of that, now I'm a world teacher in South America, in China, and I have dreams of just going. Actually, my next going with the flow moment is going to be in 2 years when I go to Colombia to do a Master's of Creative Writing in Spanish. Because I'm like, well, give myself some sort of challenge in life. We'll see how that goes, but I think it'll go fine. Anyway, so in China, I also overthought things in a relationship, and it ended up just killing the relationship because I was in a very serious relationship with a Filipina, and she really loved me. I could tell this. But I asked her one day, because I wasn't sure about it. I needed confirmation. I needed something. I was overthinking. I asked her, why do you love me? And she's like, I don't know. I'm like, well, what do you mean you don't know? You don't know why you love me? I can't, you're asking me to put words into something that is unexplainable. It's not rational the way I feel about you. And I couldn't accept that as an answer. And that caused a serious drift in our relationship. And it also shows, the overthinking shows a lack of self-confidence, right? Because I'm questioning my own self-worth. Why do you love me? Well, I'm a fucking catch. Sorry, I'm not sure if I can swear here. But anyways, I'm a catch. right? So I shouldn't be overthinking. She should have a reason to love me. I shouldn't need to question why she loves me. I should just know that she loves me, and then that's fine. That should be enough for me. And so that's what I'm trying to get here with all of you, is that overthinking, just it stems from not only miscommunication, but also self-doubt, and it's just really not good for us. Whereas going with the flow can just make us so much more adaptable, so much more just at ease and calm. And I think it's one of the best qualities that we can really go with. I want to end the speech with a poem that's a very nice poem. It's actually my favorite poem. I don't know the poem by memory, but here it is. Does anyone know The Dash? The poem The Dash. It's by Linda Ellis. I'll read it. I read of a man who stood to speak at a funeral of a friend. He referred to the dates on the tombstone from the beginning to the end. He noted that first came the date of birth and spoke of the following date with tears. But he said what mattered most was the dash between the years. For that dash represents all the time they spent alive on earth, and now only those who love them know what that little line is worth. For it matters not how much we own, the cars, the house, the cash. What matters is how we live and love and how we spend the dash. So think about this long and hard. Are there things you'd like to change? For you never know how much time is left that can still be rearranged. To be less quick to anger and show appreciation more, and love the people in our lives like we've never loved before. If we treat each other with respect and more often wear a smile, remembering that this special dash might only last a little while. So when your eulogy is being read with your life's actions to rehash, would you be proud of the things they say about how you lived your dash? And I encourage everyone to live their dash and not overthink things and just go with the flow, because when you do, your dash is going to be so incredible. Thank you.